Welcome back to The Lifeboat, a podcast where we strive to create a safe space for people who feel alone in their struggles in hopes that they'll feel less alone. Today we're talking about isolation and how it affects different people in different ways. With me today are our two guests, Kian.
Hello.
And Levi.
What's up?
And with that, let's get into it.
Let's.
All right, this is episode 4, Misadventures in Isolation. To get us started, I looked up the definition of Webster Dictionary definition of isolation. Not very great. It's solitude, isolation, seclusion, mean the state of one who is alone.
Yeah.
So what does it actually mean, though?
That's a great question. So what does it mean to y'all? That's the question that we're going to start off with.
Oh, okay.
Kian, you want to go?
I mean, for me, I feel like isolation means like alone, basically, like by yourself, like
Okay.
nothing else. But however, I will say, I feel like there's two versions of isolation.
Okay.
One is being alone with yourself, and then another is being alone with God.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
That's
I feel like one of those is better than the other.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I feel like that's kind of similar to what I was thinking. Like, for me, it's just the process of secluding yourself for any length of time, and that can be healthily or unhealthily. And to get into it, I mean, God, I think, is the only healthy version.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Secluding yourself without Him or just by yourself is a very unhealthy thing to do from lots of personal experience.
Oh, for sure. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about isolation, ironically, and we were talking, and I was like, you are a very big person of, you isolate yourself by yourself, and you sit there alone with your thoughts, and all it does is bring up, like, you have negative thoughts about yourself all the time, and that's unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
And the only way to change that is if you were to start, like, spending time with God and, like, be alone with Him, sit with Him, and, you know, just really embrace what He has for you. And I mean, I feel like I do that a good bit. At least I try to, and I feel like I'm in a good place right now to be able to talk about it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely do that. For me, definitely isolation is like being separated from everybody else.
mm-hmm.
And I think a big part of isolation is what you do in that isolation
Yeah.
For sure.
and how it can
Yeah.
affect you. And we'll move on to our second question, which is, do you think isolation is a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, playing into exactly what we were just talking about, I think when people think about isolation, I mean, if you look at it through the lens of COVID, we all isolated, right? We all isolated in our houses. We isolated with our families. And even if you take it into that family aspect, I think it's a bad thing. Like, you are secluding yourself from the world. You're secluding yourself from everything that has been created. And it's just a very Christian way to put it is that we seclude ourselves from everything God has created for us. Like, God has a plan for each and every one of us. And when we isolate, we remove ourselves from everything that He has put forth in our life. Every person, every circumstance, every idea that He has brought forth for us, we seclude ourselves from that and we remove ourselves from that. And so I think when we isolate, we take yourself out of the equation, and it might be because you're feeling too much, or you're feeling too little, or you're too stressed or overwhelmed or anxious, and you seclude yourself. At least for me, I'll seclude myself and thinking that I can handle this.
Yeah.
And that I can, like, think and come at this from another perspective. But I end up just falling into bad habits, which we could talk about later. But I isolate away from what I should be doing rather than embracing it and, you know, forging through the toughness of
for
life.
sure.
I'm going to jump in and steal a term from Josh from last episode and call it both and.
Yeah.
I feel like there are some times where isolating can be a good thing, where you can kind of like grow, especially when we're talking about with God, with developing that solitude and developing that relationship with God on your own.
Absolutely.
But also, like you were saying, it can be bad, and you can develop bad habits and fall into just.
I mean, it's like you said, it's what you do in the isolation that affects whether it's good or bad.
Right.
You know, you can't just sit there and be sad about yourself and expect good things to come out of that.
Well,
you know?
Yeah. I think when you look at it through the good isolation, you know, with God, a good isolation is one where you're surrounded by, when you're surrounded by God, or you're praying, or you're diving into the Bible to try and think through things through a certain lens. I don't even know if you can call that isolation, because at that time you're not really alone. Yeah. Like, you are straight up talking to the one entity in this universe that has the infinite wisdom to have created everything and can tell you exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And exactly how to solve any problem that you are facing, rather.
Yeah. I like that.
That's really good.
So how does isolation affect you guys? Sorry, I took from the deep.
Not great.
Right
there. Not good.
Not good.
It's hard. It's tough.
Like you said, it depends on what we do. So if I'm sitting in my room and I'm, not feeling the best about myself, I will sit there probably for hours and hours on end, probably sometimes days, and I sit there and I just sulk about probably anything that comes to mind, like any negative thought that I could have, I will take it and run.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But if I'm like sitting with God, I'm learning. I'm learning more things about myself, about Him, about the world, about people around me, about how to handle certain situations. I mean, I feel like I've grown more in the last few months being able to isolate myself with God than I have ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. For sure.
In my few years of being Christian,
Yeah. I mean, for me, I love this term. I fall when I isolate, I just completely fall into habitual habits of nothingness.
Go ahead,
which is a big term.
Go ahead and explain that one.
But for me, when I isolate, like during the COVID years, I mean, we all isolated.
Absolutely,
all of us. We were all. I think the majority of at least our generation, being what are we, Zoomers? Isn't that the term?
I don't even.
You were young folks, but I think all of Gen Z. There we go. Thank you, Josh.
Audio Man says we're Gen Z.
Oh yeah. All of us, I think, through COVID, we all gained some form of mental health issue or another.
Absolutely.
Right.
Whether knowingly or unknowingly. I know a lot of friends and family have, thought that they were fine, but I mean, it kind of devastated you from certain aspects. Some people might not even feel it today, but I mean, we obviously weren't made to be alone, as others have said in previous episodes. Like, we are community creatures. Like, we are people that commune. But to go back to that huge statement, I think for me, when I isolate, I fall into the habit of doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so I am and it's like a literal habit, because normally when you're not doing anything, it's you don't have habits, or you don't have any habitual practices. But for me, when I'm isolating, it's a habitual, like a ceremonial nothingness. I'll wake up, do nothing. I'll like barely eat and somehow gain weight. It's this crazy phenomenon. I mean, if you're skinny, it might work, but it's horrible. And so that was like, I don't have any motivation, no purpose. And that's something that has been talked about a lot in the past of, without motivation, we are nothing. Like, we need to have a purpose, a purpose-driven life. Like, we are here for a reason, and we have to seek that out. And when you isolate, it just takes that all away, and it introduces all the mental health problems in the world. I think that we just all love so much.
That we just love mental health. It's so great.
I think when the lockdown happened and COVID was going on, it was
It was good for a second.
For like the first.
It was great. I got to
month.
game all day, dude.
Right.
From
Exactly.
No school.
I was able to wake up and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Fortnite,
guys.
Straight up.
And now go a few months later, it's like, why am I feeling depressed? Like, why do I have no motivation to do schoolwork, to go out of the house, to go even to work before they started doing non-employment? Like you said, motivation is a big part of how we handle isolation.
Right.
If we don't have motivation, we're going to sit there and be in an abyss of nothingness.
Yeah, we're going to do nothing for no reason. Yeah. It's bad. No. It's tough.
And I feel that, because there were times in, like, COVID, and even afterwards, like, as we were, like, reintegrating into society and getting back into just life, where I just wouldn't move. Like, I'd just lay in the bed. I wouldn't eat.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that alone introduces health problems. Like physical health problems. But, I mean, I'm certainly not a scientist, but I've researched it a tiny bit. But, I mean, dopamine, like, when we isolate, you like fall into this nothingness, right? Which for me, that's kind of how I explain depression is like it's a heavy fog over my every thought, over my entire life. And when I'm depressed, I want dopamine. I want to feel happy, right? And that's where a lot of certain things that definitely need to be tackled in other episodes. That's for sure. They're too big a topic.
For sure.
Like you seek dopamine, and then when you try and find momentary spurges of happiness, I don't even think that's a word, but it lowers your dopamine threshold. At least that's what I think. It's a very brief research. Yeah. But I mean, in dopamine, kind of just when you have low dopamine, it just plays into everything. Like you're tired, you don't have motivation, which is just lining up perfectly with isolation. You have anxiety, no concentration, no pleasure. You're moody, you're depressed. It's just like all of the fun things that we get to deal with. It's just it kind of coincides with that. I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting.
No, that was
thinking about it. For sure.
It's very cool to hear. Actually,
I like that you brought up dopamine being like how did you phrase it? It was
the dopamine threshold.
And like
we have the capacity for so much.
Yeah, and when it goes down, you start
when you seek it in like quick instances, it just lowers and lowers to the point where you're always trying to fill just a small portion of what you're actually capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. But to bounce off of that, it's kind of like why I picked up the hobby of photography. Like, and I now love that, and I have a hobby. It's an expensive hobby, but a hobby nonetheless that I genuinely love and I love to do, and I like to spread it, and like I like to share those moments with people, especially if it's like if I'm going out and doing street photography and I take pictures of like these random people. I love going over to them and being like, hey, I took this picture, and I think you guys look really good, and they love it every time. I love being able to, at the drop of a hat, be able to go take pictures of my own family and be able to share those moments with them. And I love being able to take pictures for the church and spread those moments with those people that are having their own moments with God. Another hobby that I'm kind of trying to back away from it was Legos. Like
don't back away from Legos. No,
as expensive as photography. I think it's up there.
I have a reason for backing away from Legos. I can only have one expensive hobby in my life.
As
of right now, and I'm choosing photography.
That's fair. That's valid.
Exactly.
I mean, you can.
If I do buy Legos,
if
I do buy Legos, 100 or less.
I mean, I think we all picked up this hobby, at least really delved into it. Gaming, I mean, we all loved video games before COVID.
But I feel like it was a way to like stay connected with your friends while you're isolated.
I think for me at least that was an excuse. That was an excuse to indulge, because when I would play video games, what I wanted was like, I'm not a big fan of like the PvP, super competitive. I absolutely love being able to go play in some world and check off boxes on lists. Like I would like playing Assassin's Creed. I would collect everything. I would do every little task, and it would give me those little moments of dopamine. Like, I did that. I'm happy now.
So kind of like
feel dry, but
platinuming a game.
Yeah, unlocking every trophy for sure. And that that was a habit of mine that I picked up. While gaming can be excellent, like Chase said, I mean, you can become closer with your friends. Like that's something that we've done over the past couple of months, is we've enjoyed the absolute perfection that is currently Fortnite, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
And we've grown closer. Like we've talked more, we've hung out more.
We have.
And it's a good thing. I just think it needs to be you need to monitor that that habit to make sure it doesn't get out of control.
Yeah.
I will say I do like that you bring up gaming, and like as much as I love playing online with you guys and like hanging out, like playing Fortnite or playing Call of Duty with you guys, I love the fact that we do in-person game nights.
Oh yeah.
There's something about being in person with each other that brings the friendship closer than just being able to talk to each other through a screen, you know. And that was a big thing during COVID, is like we couldn't do that, you know. And now we're able to, and now we're finally hanging out more, and I feel like we're all closer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, and
that's something that hit me really hard.
Yeah.
Because like COVID, we were all separated. And then after that, I kind of like, I moved away from the central area that we were all at, and kind of like removed myself from the group, thinking like, I'm out of high school now. I should just dip out. Like I should move on. And for a while it was okay. And then thinking I was okay. And then, you know, like I didn't really have that group of friends that I could go for a random Saturday, go play games with for like 4 hours straight and not even worry about it. And so coming back, I realized how huge it was. Like, being with your friends is awesome. Hanging out online, calling each other, hanging out, I don't know, like at the mall or something. But hanging out and doing really nothing is awesome.
Yeah.
It's community. Like that, I feel like that's kind of a good
100%.
Definition of community. Is
100%.
being able to gather and just pretty much do nothing. Like, we're not really doing a whole lot. We're making fun of each other.
I
we're
literally
playing
was
games.
just about to say that. Is that like,
we're doing great.
Community is a very big thing, especially if you're like in a Christian lifestyle. We're community-driven creatures, right? So being able to play online and talk to each other is, in a form of community. However, when you start doing that stuff in person, that community grows stronger, and it builds a stronger bond, and you just have a better lifestyle once you start doing things in person again, you know? And like,
absolutely.
COVID like to try to take that from us, and
beating that.
I feel like we were able to come back pretty strong.
Absolutely, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Let's see. I don't know if we covered this, but I'm gonna ask you anyways. Can isolation cause things like depression and anxiety?
Yes.
Has it?
Bingo. Yeah, I mean, I think we barely touched it. To be honest, I think we
slightly touched it.
Yeah.
Scraped the tip of the iceberg with it.
You put the plaque on the statue.
Yeah.
Now it's time to actually read it, type thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think isolation and being during COVID was like the peak of my depression and anxiety.
Yes,
like I feel like that's probably more than likely where I got majority of like my depression and anxiety, you know. And I've grown out of it, or I've
must be nice
learned how to deal with it a little bit better than others. But you know, there's still parts of me that like I get socially anxious if I'm in a big crowd, or I don't want to go talk to this person if I barely know them, which I normally used to do. I used to be a very big people person. Like I used to go over and talk all the time, even if they were like some random person. Like, you know that when I was during age 12, like any random like new person, I would go over and start having a conversation with them just to make them feel welcomed.
Yeah,
you know,
age 12 is our high school ministry for all of those non-stoners out there. 12 stoners.
I don't know if we can I don't know if we can use
12 Stone Church. That's what we're talking about. But that's, you know, that I used to do that all the time. And then COVID happened, and all that other stuff that happened during that time, you know, that caused that to kind of go away, which sucks. But, you know, I'm slowly getting back out there, and I'm slowly putting myself more out there, trying to put myself in the uncomfortable, because I don't think anyone should ever be comfortable with where they're at.
Absolutely not. You cannot grow in comfortability.
Exactly.
No, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations will make you become comfortable with said situation.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which then you push yourself to be more uncomfortable, and then you're at a point where you're just fine with just about any situation you're in, because you've reached a level of comfortability with yourself, that you know yourself, and you know that in social scenarios, not everything is going to go wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And that it's not really that scary. You're just hanging out and talking to people.
Yeah.
And everyone, we are all much more alike than we all think we are.
For sure.
But yeah, I actually did not realize this until you said it. But I always thought that I had just a regular anxiety of like, for no reason, I'd start to feel anxious. But thinking on it, like I definitely had social anxiety coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
Like,
I think everybody did.
I don't know how I didn't realize it until just now.
I mean, if you really think about it, we were away from people
for a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Almost 2
Exactly.
years
We thought it was an
people.
extended spring break. A year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We graduated,
spring
guys.
break ever.
Oh, yeah.
We graduated during COVID.
Yeah.
That
On a PowerPoint.
I quite literally watched
names
my face slide across
on a
the
PowerPoint.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
And we were expected to come out of that perfectly fine with no mental issues. Yeah, get out of here, bro.
We went through, horrible times.
We missed our entire back
Our
half of our
senior
senior
year.
year.
Dude, yeah. Chase,
absolutely.
we missed our senior stuff. Anything related
anything we
to
could do, we didn't get to
being
do.
a senior,
Yeah, man.
we didn't get. We didn't get a senior breakfast.
They gave
we
us
didn't
a cap and gown, but
Never
we
went to
didn't
prom.
walk.
Never went
all
to
of
senior
these huge
prom.
things.
Never
Right.
did a senior walk.
No
never
Friday night games. That almost that
It
entire
was-
Exactly. No senior pranks. No
Nothing.
walking across the stage.
I believe it or not, I still don't have my diploma.
Neither
I don't
do
know
I. Are you
where it
serious?
is.
Mine never came in the mail.
Mine
Never
came
got it
in the mail.
If you remember, I moved.
I don't know where to
Oh,
find it.
yeah, you
so-
did.
And they never sent it to me.
Yeah.
And like they had my new address
You
and
should
everything, and they knew that
probably
I drove.
Pull up and
I'm not
get
going.
that.
I'm not
Well,
going.
see, here's the thing is,
Listen,
my college knows that I graduate.
My
And so
college
that's all
also
I care
knows
about.
that I graduate. Like they
I
can
don't
I'm
know.
not
pull
looking
my
for jobs that
transcript.
require a high school diploma anymore, so I think
Exactly.
I don't know. Just having the diploma, just it felt nice.
If it's
4
in-
years of suffering.
If it's on the
That's-
internet, bro.
To hang it would be nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice little booklet too. You should like phone folder.
I mean, never got it. Never got a cap and gown. Yeah, missing a lot of our senior year.
I have cap and gown, but I did not get my diploma.
Dang,
That's
you're
crazy.
one of the lucky ones. But yeah, no, I mean, for the world, I feel like to expect us to come out of that unscathed
Yeah.
is not only a wild request,
Yeah.
but it's kind of ignorant. I feel like
Absolutely.
And not to say woe is me, but like we went through a lot, and it's a lot that nobody would think is important.
Right.
Like it's so what you got to break for a year and a half. Like how great is that? Until you realize, well, we were secluded from what grows people up. Is that
Absolutely.
social? That's what school is for.
Yeah.
It's for social interaction and obviously learning. But that kind of takes second place for just about everyone.
Yeah.
We were secluded from social interaction for a year and a half at arguably one of the most pivotal points in our life.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like we didn't have that. Like going into college, I put off my fall semester
Same.
because I didn't want to go having the college experience through a COVID lens. I thought that was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And little did I know, going in the spring would be exactly the same.
Right. Right.
It was still COVID lockdown. But, yeah, I mean, I think that there's something to be said and a further discussion on how depression and anxiety and all of these other social or mental health issues like dissociative identity disorder, like all of these things where you kind of just are out of your head and you don't know why. I think there needs to be a lot more resources available, because when you introduce that stuff and the world expects you to be okay, that's when you start to not understand. Especially for me, I like to understand where I am. Like mentally, I need to know where I am. Like, am I okay? And when I don't have resources or everyone's telling me like, yeah, you are okay, you're fine, there's nothing actually going wrong. That's where it led me to at least very dark places. Like I'm very proud to say that I've never been suicidal, but in my point of view, there's this big mountain which is depression, and once you reach the peak, at least for me, there's this plateau, and then a drop off, and then that's where life ends. And I've been to the plateau, like I've been close, and what helped me out of that is being with people, is talking to my parents. Even though that was the last thing I wanted to do, because my parents I always thought were dumb and stupid and had no idea about anything. Turns out they're your parents, they love you and care for you, and they have good advice. As much as I still don't listen to it, they have great advice.
Dude, So I didn't start talking to my mom about like how I feel or like what I'm going through until like the end of COVID.
Yeah.
You know, and like I hate that. Like that's my mom. The only reason why I didn't do it is because I didn't want her to see me damaged. Like I didn't want her to see her kid damaged.
No, you want to be whole. You want to be good.
I wanted to show her that I was okay. Like I didn't have anything wrong with me. One of the very few of my siblings, hopefully they don't listen to this, one of the very few of my siblings that, you know, is doing well with themselves. But in reality, the truth was I wasn't. You know, during like going through COVID another thing was like I was dealing with a lot of suppressed childhood trauma that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
You know, my parents got divorced 8th grade to 9th grade year, and I didn't know how to deal with it because I was young. Like before that, I thought they were like fine. I didn't know anything was happening. I had an amazing childhood, and then it changed. Everything just got flipped around, you know, and I had no idea how to handle that. And the only way I could was to act like it didn't happen. You know, I knew that they got divorced, but I didn't talk about it with them. I didn't know what happened until 2 or 3 years later, you know. And when my sister had to tell me, she was like, "Do you even know why they got divorced?" I mean, I'm not gonna say it on the podcast, but I didn't know that until 2 or 3 years later, and it sucked because, you know, like if my mom expects me to talk to her, then I kind of expect her to talk to me as well. Yeah, you know, like. Yeah. We're blood, you know, we're related in blood. Yeah, she birthed me. We need to have some form of connection, and unfortunately COVID was one of those places where it was like, I don't want to talk to you right now. Like I want to be by myself, which is another thing of like
you're already by yourself.
Yeah, where like isolation is like a very big thing, and COVID is just like the downfall of everything basically, you know, and that sucked.
I think COVID is the only virus to ever touch the world and kill people mentally more rather than physically. And I'm not downplaying the deaths. That was a lot. That was horrible. That was horrific. But I think what it has done to the population worldwide has been far more detrimental to mental health rather than physical health. Because, I mean, I've yet to meet someone, I'm 21, I've yet to meet someone that has come out of COVID knowing that they don't have mental health issues, or at least aren't wary of it. Yeah. I mean, I've, you know, hung out with students that, you know, aren't able to think about that at that level yet. But you can just see it. Like some are socially awkward, some have anxiety, or some have these underlying feelings of depression. But a lot of that it's present. But what you were saying about family issues coming out during that period of isolation,
because like there was nothing else to think about, and the only thing that I could think about is why my family was destroyed in a matter of a year. Yeah, from that time. And you know, I thought about it, and as much as it sucked knowing what happened, I didn't view anyone differently. You know, I love my parents. I love my parents. Like, if
you've got issues,
yeah, absolutely. But they're still human, you know. They're still my parents, and they're still amazing. And if I could see them more and hang out with them more, I would. My dad lives in Florida, and I live with my mom. But you know, there's only so much that I can do to express that kind of thing. But I think a lot of us have that unconscious fear of like showing that we're very much damaged to our parents, especially since we came from them. Is like a huge thing, and that the only time I really noticed that was during COVID.
Absolutely. Our family has been through quite a bit of turmoil, and thankfully it's never been inter-family dispute. You know, it's always been outside forces clawing at us. But COVID really brought that up for me, and I'll call it the Ryan method, but I would take things and I would bottle them up and then pretend like it didn't bug me, just to shout out my homie. But I would pretend like everything was okay, and then I would talk to my therapist. By the way, therapy is amazing.
Gotta give me one of those.
Even if you don't have a therapist, don't think it's stupid. Don't think it's out of mind. I've met quite a few many people that could benefit a lot from a therapist.
But recently was thinking about going to therapy or
therapy
counseling.
is huge, and I do always think that a mental health professional is the way to go. I've had a therapist, well, 2 therapists and a psychologist, and I think they're huge. Talking to someone is amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing and what we're hopefully doing for those listening is providing a pathway. I do this all the time, listening to podcasts. I talk right back to them, but in my head. And I'm kind of a psychopath.
This guy gets it.
But talking to people is huge.
Absolutely.
I do that a lot with my siblings. I'll blow up and I'll be a horrible sibling. And then I will break it down in my head and I'm like, okay, but I need to talk about this because I just did something bad and I need to fix it.
Yeah.
And so I go and talk. And talking to anyone is huge, but I think we need to make it known that while talking to friends, talking to family is really important. So is talking to people that definitely know what they're doing. I think talking to anyone is huge, and talking to that therapist is also huge. But I mean, yeah, my family, we went through a lot of troubles, and when I talked to my therapist, it would all come out, and I'd be this crying, snot sniffling, hot mess, man. But I talked about it, and those family issues were really they were deep, and a lot of things I thought were my fault, and you know, some of me still believes that they are. Some of these events that have happened, I still believe like, yeah, I'm part to blame, even though I know I'm not, but there's just that emotional connection that I've still got to work through. I mean, we all still have our issues, absolutely, for sure. But just talking is huge, and working through those issues is huge.
Absolutely. Sure. I like the you brought up I forgot. Never mind.
Okay. Well, no.
Pays of the human mind.
It'll be fine. I mean, I'll hop onto that too. Like, I talk about every now and again. You know, the hospital trip. That was fun.
Oh yeah. Scary moment. But yeah.
Yeah. Like.
Let's woo that up.
I didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't talk
I remember
to
that happening. I was scared. Like you had gone through something, and weren't talking about it
at all.
And I mean, I don't know if you guys picked up on when that happened to me. I was already relatively isolated from the friend group at that point, but our life kind of hit a hole, and I hadn't, and you know, I knew why, but I had no idea why, and noticing that on you was terrifying, because you are when you're around your friends, you're such an outward person, and then seeing you stop, or like, yeah, something happened, but I don't want to talk about it, was scary. Because I know, I mean, still friends in our friend group and family still go through that right now.
Right.
Like, something's going on, but I'm not going to talk about it. And while I understand sometimes of not wanting to talk about it, I think it's still a scary thing to me.
It's just terrifying thing.
Your mind can go anywhere.
Right.
Really, really quickly. Absolutely, yeah.
It goes back to perception. You know, it really does, because you don't want to talk about it because you don't want them to see you differently. Yeah. I mean, that's all it really is. Everything that we've talked about for these past 4 episodes all tie in together.
All right.
Oh,
you know,
mental health is one. I like to say this about Christianity.
Yeah.
That God has created. He has spun the most gorgeous and intricate spider web of all time, and everything is connected. So when a fly flies in, it bounces and hits the spider. Everything is connected, and I think so is mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health is just a giant spider web. Everything's connected. You can point everything to everything, and there's causes for everything, and there's reasons for everything.
Right. And if you really want to think about it, every mental health can lead back to rejection. Because at one point in your life, someone might have just been like,
no thanks,
not worth my time.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to call BS on that, but thinking about, like, my depression stems from myself.
Yeah.
I am my biggest bully,
and
I think that's a future episode in and of itself. Just shame, but
and when I say
I rejected
like
myself.
someone rejects you, that includes yourself.
Absolutely,
100%. And that's a huge thing that no one really thinks about.
Yeah,
like I didn't think that, and like I didn't even think about that until I heard that, and I was like, wow, that is like. Changes the like way I think about everything right now.
Changes the game. Yeah. Absolutely. For sure.
So, can isolating yourself from a situation help or hurt you?
Yeah. I think from what we've said,
I feel like we've talked about this already.
There's a good yes to that answer because yes, it can. I think. I mean, in my notes I've written down that 99% hurt. That isolating, I think, is a 99-1 game. I think I might be exaggerating in some way, but I think that when we think of isolation and when we isolate, it's almost never in a good way.
Yeah.
Because I'm a proud man. Mm-hmm. I'm a dude. I carry that trait of being proud. I always think I've got it in the bag. With every issue I've ever had in my life, I'm like, you know what? I can handle this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that 99% is hurting. But, that 1% I think is isolating for a short period of time, a few minutes to maybe an hour max. I mean, like really short. And talking to God.
Yeah. So
the thing.
This is something I was thinking about the other day is that when we isolate ourselves in a bad way, it's very like unconscious. Like we don't do it on purpose. Mm-hmm. When we isolate ourselves with God, it's purposeful. Mm-hmm. It's for a reason.
Oh yeah.
So when we do it unconsciously, something happened. Like I'll bring up today. So today I was very overwhelmed at work, and I pretty much snapped on someone that I didn't mean to snap at, and I felt really bad afterwards. Like after I've calmed down, and I was like, dang, like that's something that I've been working on, is like being able to control how I'm feeling. And when I started feeling overwhelmed, I felt like I wasn't being able to control it, which, I mean, to be fair, I have no control over that anyways,
Yeah.
That's something that like I have to be with God with.
Yeah, that's a big problem for me that I'm currently working through is for me it's specifically outbursts of anger.
Yeah.
Like I can take like let's just say 30%. Like you can throw 30% of everything you've got at me, and then I hit 31% and I start simmering, and then I hit 50 and I really start boiling. And then at one point, it just breaks.
Yeah.
And I blow up, and nothing I say is meaningful ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's never meaningful, but I say it anyways. Like
absolutely.
And there's no recovery in the moment for that.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But yeah, that's a great point. Conferring with the Lord in that time. And
yeah. After I had calmed down and everything, I looked throughout the entire warehouse to find them again. And I had to make sure that I apologized, because if I didn't, I would have felt horrible for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my big thing, is finding them and apologizing.
Yeah, like there's no reason.
It, but
like we're all in the same place. We all are going through the same thing. There's no reason why the way that I'm feeling should be taken out on you. And I felt really bad about that. And so I found them and I apologized to them and I made amends. So
yeah, I think to add to that just a tiny bit is, at least from my perspective, I apologize. I at least used to. I would apologize and then move on, because in my head, an issue will arise, and then something will happen to strengthen or to make that issue, to grow the issue, and then I'll blow up, and then I'll go apologize and expect everything to be okay. Yeah. Like we're on the same page here. Like I hurt you. But I slapped that Band-Aid on and I made sure it was airtight. And so I gave you the best apology ever, and then I'd move on. And I've realized that while, yes, I am apologizing, they aren't moved on. And so instead of excusing myself for my actions, I've provided reasoning. And it's not near the end of the line, because I still have to rein in the whole reasoning for the outburst in the first place.
Absolutely.
But I'd provide reasons. Like, this doesn't excuse anything I've done.
Yeah.
I am still a horrible person, and I still need to fix this. And I need to talk to God about this, and I need to pray, and I need to fix this. But this is why. I had a horrible day. Or like a recent example, I come home from a 13-hour school day. Long day. I wake up at 6, and I get home at like 7. It's a long day. It's tough. Mm-hmm. And I walk up. I get my gym bag. Monster exploded in the gym bag, full of Monster Energy. A horrible start. I get to the house. Dog ate all of my Halloween candy. All of it. Chocolate and everything.
My gosh.
Reese's. Yeah. I mean, all of them. Trash everywhere. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then I turn 3 steps. There's giant piles of poop all throughout my room.
Oh my gosh.
And then I get downstairs and whatever is a mess, and I'm just like so upset. And there's like my favorite food was missing that I was planning on eating that day, and just built and built and built,
that was
and
a
then I
bad day.
exploded. And it was horrible. And so yeah, I provide my reasoning, but it never excuses it. Just because
Yeah, I mean,
I'm still a moron.
Yeah, to give the better description of what happened is it was my boss who I kind of snapped on, and I went out and I found her and I was like, hey, I wanted to apologize for earlier because I shouldn't have talked to you that way. Like, you're my boss and you treat me with so much respect, and it's only fair that I treat you back with the same respect, if not more.
Absolutely.
So to kind of explain why I was snapping is because I was feeling very overwhelmed with everything that was happening on so I work with the robots, so I was like, everything that happens on the floor. So I was like, I'm very sorry. It doesn't like, I shouldn't have talked to you that way. It's something that I'm working on. I've been working on. So I if it happens again, I do expect you to put me in check. Like, you're my boss, and
put me in line.
Yeah,
dude.
absolutely. Yeah. Like, you're my boss. Do not let me talk to you like that. Because if it happens once, it can happen again. You know, there's no reason why I should get away with it.
And there's that feeling like, I completely respect you.
Yeah.
Like, I feel horrible.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely adore you. I respect you. Please, like,
Literally.
put me in line, because I don't mean that, and I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally feel
it's like one of the best managers that I've had since working at Amazon. And I snapped. And I felt horrible about it. So I was like, I want to apologize. And, we were cool. She started laughing about it, but not because it was funny. No, but because she wasn't expecting it. Because I don't do that often.
Yeah.
So she was like, I'm taking you seriously, I promise. But I just wasn't expecting it. Which is why I was laughing. Yeah. I was like, understand.
No, I find that, like, in situations like that, God is quick to humble you.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Quick. He will check you straight in the heart. It's like,
absolutely.
Ooh.
Hey, yo, dog, check this out.
It's like,
bam.
It's like, why
hey,
you do that, huh?
Yeah.
What was the reason?
Yeah.
Why are you talking to them like that, huh?
Right. Go turn around.
Go turn around. You're better than that?
Yeah. You know better. Come on.
Right.
Oh, yeah. My dad would always, when our dog would pee or poop, he would grab the dog and like, what did you do? And the dog's like, I'm sorry. It just happened. And I mean, that's kind of what God does to me, at least. Like, I mean, he grabs me by the collar and is like, man, what is that? What did you do? Fix it.
Go sit in the corner and think about your life.
I mean, the worst part is if it happens to, like, if you snap on your significant other.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, not only are you having to apologize and give your reasoning why, but now you're also having to deal with, like, fixing the, like, why you snapped and having to earn stuff back and stuff like that. Like, there, at no point should anything that happens outside of your relationship with your significant other be taken out on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Your relationship is you and them.
I think that's something that we all struggle with, and that's something that affects every one of us. But absolutely, like, when you, I think that goes for just about every relationship. Yeah. It's something that no matter what happens, like, I don't know if this is an isolated event, but lately I've been experiencing a ton of horrible drivers.
No, that's every day.
On the road. I don't know what's in the water or what's on the road, but these people be driving crazy.
Right.
I'm getting cut off left and right. I'm having these crazy drivers fly past me 20 over.
People not putting their turn signal on. Just
guys.
And I just don't, and like that stuff will then affect, like, with how I talk to my siblings or how I go into small group, which is huge for me because I only come from a place of love.
Yeah.
But I go in irritated, and then I just end up irritated, and I take it out on whatever.
Guys, it's just God trying to teach you patience.
I'm be honest with you, man. I don't care.
That is a cruel way to teach me patience.
You want to know cruel?
My life is on the line.
You want to know cruel? I didn't have a horn for 2 to 3 years in my car. At no point could I road rage back. I had to accept it. That's where I learned patience from.
My car, sometimes the headlights will go out just mid-drive. And so I've had it happen before. I'm leaving church, and it's pitch black, and the headlights will disappear. And so I have to either turn on the brights and, like, almost kill people by, my brights being in their face. But, yeah, absolutely. I get that.
Absolutely. Now,
I hope it's not him showing me patience, because as cruel and as mean, but I get it.
I mean, there's other ways, but I feel like that's where I've learned a lot of patience is
that's fair.
Road rage.
What are things that cause you to isolate?
Negative feedback. Negative feedback, or if someone is like, what's the word? If I'm getting critiqued about something and it's coming off like, obviously,
way to pioneer and reckon back to previous episodes.
Dude,
I mean, the whole time,
dude. I'm great with callbacks.
It's
Anyways,
all connected.
Yeah.
So, if I'm getting negatively critiqued about something, and at least that's how I'm viewing it, I will like shut down, and I won't really talk to anyone the rest of the day. Or even if it's like, that's just one example. If another one is like, if I snap on someone, like today, I did not talk to anyone. I wanted to be by myself until I finally was like, why did I do that? I isolated myself, and I think it was for a reason of for me at least, when I do that, it's so I don't do it again onto other people that don't deserve it.
I think that harkens back to trying to isolate for the good reasons.
Absolutely.
But it ends up being
absolutely
you yourself and you yourself and
you.
Yeah, but you already said you.
Yeah,
it's me, myself, and I, but you, yourself, and
is that the plural?
Thou.
Ooh.
Way to get King James.
Okay. But I mean that's a way. And then for a good way is like if I'm reading the Bible, or if I'm doing a devotional, is like I'll shut off my off my phone, lock my door,
and that's always
just be by myself and God and like sit with
get
that.
Some wisdom words.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely open that iPad, pull out the Bible app, blast
brother.
that worship music, hit the devotional.
The best is when you don't have any music at all. You're just sitting there in silence.
I don't know.
I started this habit of having. I have to have music when I'm reading anything now.
Okay, but
so I'd be listening to Frank Ocean, man, popping a fantasy book.
Ain't no way.
But yeah, dude, I gotta be listening to worship.
You were telling me about that.
Oh yeah, dude. Right now though, I'll listen to worship music, have the Bible, have a Devo, and then I'll have what are those called? They're like
you got it.
A Bible explanation.
No, never mind.
It's like this dude wrote a website. There's like hundreds of them.
There's a lot of websites.
But he explains the Bible chapter by chapter in real depth, like through a historical. It's very. I'm a history major.
I know read scripture.
So that's very interesting.
Very historical way of looking at a source, which is also the primary source. But I love it. Yeah, man. Worship music is key. But Chase, what?
That's if I'm doing it honestly.
Dude, it is about anything.
I mean, my list is like 10 things long.
No, like personally, like if a conversation I have goes the wrong way, or if I lash out, or if I'm really pissed off, I would just walk away and just be silent. You won't hear from me for the rest of the day. And
yeah. I think that's something that we all do. Like
it's not great. Definitely not great. But
can I say something about that? I feel like when you're mad at someone, you isolate yourself from them to protect them from you.
Yeah.
I think that
not
could
so
be,
much so.
Yeah.
Just so I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe that could make it 98 too. You know.
There you go.
You know, because I've had to do as part of. I feel like, I'm in this arc of my life where I'm like in the growth arc, the training arc, where everyone loves because it's over that quickly and it's just this cool montage.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I've started like when events will just build up to where I'm at that 50%, and I'll just somehow, by the grace of God, get the knowledge and wisdom to walk away.
Yeah.
And then I'm just removed from that scenario. So yeah, I feel that for sure. And yeah, I feel like that could be another good form of isolation, is when you recuse yourself from a scenario to protect everyone else,
especially when
from
know
the
it will
pitfalls
be
of yourself.
Yeah,
because you know that nothing good is going to happen.
Like you'll say something that you can't take back.
Absolutely.
Being the only Christian in your family is so difficult.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Sure. The amount of times
my mom's a pastor, so absolutely, I get that.
The amount of times that I have to hold my tongue to my siblings, or like mind how I speak to them is insane. And I was talking. I was in a meeting with someone last week. And I was talking about this, and I was like, it's difficult because when I first became Christian, they like bashed me for it. They were like, "Oh, you and your God, blah blah blah," and I'm like,
"It is me and my God."
Yeah, like,
what's up with
like,
that?
like, first of all, you're my siblings. You know, you're gonna bash me for something that I believe in. Like, I don't make fun of you and whatever faith you have. I don't sit there and critique you if you do something negatively or not.
Yeah.
In the way of your religion, like, you guys are supposed to be my siblings, and you're supposed to support me.
Yeah, I think there's a duty, though, as a Christian, though, is to, when situations like that happen, when we're attacked just because that we know that there is a God that loves us unfailingly, and that we can reciprocate just a tiny fraction of a percent of that. I think it's kind of, when we get ridiculed for that, it's our job to just show them love and be like, you know what? I don't understand why you're attacking me or why you feel X, Y, and Z, but I'm choosing to have love for you. Even though you may not feel love in that scenario. I mean, I've certainly felt that way towards friends. Like, they'll attack me or make fun of me, and I'm like, I have to choose to love you. Because that's what God would do.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I'm called to
don't
do.
get me
and
wrong.
Isolation only makes everything worse.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's when you're being forced into that isolation by someone attacking you.
I feel like those thoughts definitely fester in isolation, and that's can only lead to
that. Yeah, it's like, I've been to a lot of churches in Europe, man, and I feel like isolation is kind of walking into one of those by yourself, because these are vaulted ceilings. It's gorgeous, it's stunning. Your mind might be gorgeous. Mine is a jumbled mess, but you go in and then your voice just echoes after every single riser, everything. And I feel like that's kind of isolation for me. Is I go in and then I just start talking, and it's just bing bong, bing bong, bing bong.
That's a good
and the voice gets twisted, darker.
Yeah, that's a good mental image for that.
That's at least for me.
But I mean, you guys are not wrong. You know, as Christian ways show, you're supposed to show love towards your enemies. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't see them as my enemies. I see them as my siblings, and
those adults that I love.
Yeah. Literally. But I do try to show them love, and I do try to show them that I care for them. It's just difficult sometimes.
And, absolutely.
And I've expressed to my mom, like, my mom's very supportive of it, and she's very like one of the things I talk to her about is like how my siblings treat me sometimes, and she's like, I'm sorry, like, you shouldn't have to deal with that, but I love my mom.
I get that.
I'm a mama's boy.
Things for me that cause me to isolate. I genuinely have a very long list.
I have his notes pulled up.
It's like 10 things.
Yeah.
So that's not that long. But for me, it's mostly scenarios that are relatively negative. So, intimidating things, foreign things, or intimidating scenarios or foreign scenarios, uncomfortable scenarios, anger, depression, anxiety. And for me, the weirdest one is boredom.
Yeah.
Or sloth, to get the official 19th century term. These things all cause me to be like, okay, I don't like this anymore. Yeah. And so I return to myself, and it's rather crazy. But speaking of when I isolate and how those things cause me to isolate, I don't know about you, but my isolation is like, it can go from anywhere from like a day to literal years.
Yeah.
Because obviously COVID, it ended up being 2 years of straight isolation and loneliness by myself. It was a horrible event. But yeah, I go from anywhere from a couple of days to genuine years.
Yeah. Mine's not as extreme.
Yeah.
Like to choose the choice of words for that, but I will say it's nice having a significant other who understands you and is able to. That's huge. Yeah. She's able to tell when I start isolating myself, and she's like, "Hey, like, what's going on? Like, let's talk."
I think that is obviously incredibly important. I think there's also, can't rely on that. Mm-hmm. No, that can't be. I mean, your reliance is your SO. But I think there's also, we can rely on our family.
Absolutely.
We can rely on our small group leaders or my mentor. Like, my mentor is there for me to call me on my BS. Like, I'll be an idiot, as I've already done. I'll be a moron, and he'll call me on it. He's like, "Hey, man," and it's nothing with love. It's nothing but love.
So, what are some things that you can do that can free you from isolation?
I mean, besides putting the 80th nail in the coffin of just Jesus. I have it written down. I have like yourself section, and then as an outside friend section.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously yourself is praying, reading the Bible, communing with people from the church, those who know a whole heck of a lot more than you, because we don't know it all. Yeah. We're all idiots. Yeah. Talking to friends, talking to professionals that, you know, really know about mental health, and then community.
Yeah.
That's at least what I've thought from a personal perspective. And then as an outside friend, because I think in our friend group, we've definitely seen each other go through different periods of isolation.
Absolutely.
Yep. Each one of us has gone through a lengthy period, and we've all seen it. And so as a friend, for anyone listening, if you see your friend going through this, in a kind of weird way, show them how great life is. Make them jealous. Like, in a very kind and loving way, with nothing but love, show them how amazing life really is outside of that isolation. Show them like how fun it is to hang out with people.
Invite them to do things.
Yes, and that's part of it, is make sure that
really
they
good.
know that they have a way out through you or through anyone else. Is like, show them how great it is, and then offer that hand, and just be there and push them to be way better than they are, because that's what you really need as a friend. Is someone that's there and that'll push you to be better in every way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, to be honest, I agree with everything you said. For yourself, you pray, read the Bible, talk to people, talk to professionals, talk to, you know, find community, like push yourself to be out of the comfort zone. You know, we're not meant to be comfortable. And then as an outside friend, I totally agree, you know.
I mean, as we were saying before the show, I'm kind of a professional on isolation, sadly. But I've spent way too long of my life being by myself.
Let's be honest. All three of us are.
Yeah.
You know, if we have any form of isolation, you magically become an expert.
I hated going through it, but I love that I have the answers to
Absolutely.
You know?
Listen,
that's something that I found, is that I love being able to help.
Absolutely.
I hated going through it, and it's horrible, but I made it through, and I'm here now.
Something that I love about this podcast is that, like, a lot of us have gone through these mental problems that we've like I've talked about, but a lot of us have been able to go through it and now have some form of expertise to be able to talk about it, and like
expertise as a loose term for sure. Yeah,
we
are not experts.
I mean, as loose as your shoelaces when they're about to come untied.
Yeah, but we feel like we know what we're talking about.
Absolutely,
we've gone through it, and we've watched our loved ones go through it, and so
I mean, it's not even like we know what we're talking about. It's we're just talking about our experiences and what we learned from it.
Talking about what we did and exactly.
I'm very grateful for everything that I've gone through, and a lot of people take it for granted, or use it as an excuse to act the way they do.
Yeah.
But I take them as lessons, and in order to do that, you got to talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And to come full circle from like episode 1, this is what I want from this podcast. Like, I want to be able to just generally talk about things as friends and just have these conversations. And like I said in episode 1, I'll say it again. If this podcast just reaches one person,
that's huge. Yeah,
I've done my job. Like that's what I want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, if you really think about it, that's kind of how the church is. If we can get one person to accept Christ, then our job is being done.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
yeah, we're just here to help. I feel like it's kind of our call, as just, if you even can take away the religious aspect of it, which I don't think any of us should, but if we do, we're here to help. Like all of us, just as human beings.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go through something, and it's not your job to just be like, okay, I went through that. It's your job to then help those who do go through it, so that they come out better than us.
Yeah,
I think that's
just our whole job.
That's why we're small group leaders. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all gone through stuff.
We've got a little wisdom that we can impart. Not a lot.
A good way to phrase this is that I lead through experience. Yeah. I'm not a very Bible smart man. Like, I don't know specific verses or anything, but if I know what they're going through, I can lean into that, and I can like dip into some experiences that I've had with that, and like talk to them about it and how I've gotten out of it.
Yeah.
So, with that being said,
we will jump to final thoughts.
Sweet. I mean,
I feel like we definitely wrapped up very well.
I mean,
I think we just
isolation, I think, is just a really, really tough thing.
Absolutely.
And it's impossible to handle alone. I think that's very clear from my perspective, is that in every scenario, when I isolated, it was always alone, and I never, ever could come out of it by myself. Like, after that main COVID period, I had to have my mom set me up with a therapist at school, which technically isn't even allowed. Colleges require you to make the appointment, but my mom somehow found out about the guy, and it all worked out. But it's so hard to break by yourself. So seek someone, seek friends. But if you're not the one going through it, then be the friend.
Yeah.
Right.
Be the one to contact the therapist. Even, if you're younger, don't do that. But
yeah, I mean,
like, be there. Push your friends. Show them how great.
Encourage them to talk to someone. Don't necessarily make the appointment for them.
Absolutely.
But encourage them.
Maybe
to
if you're a loved one, then that's a good step.
Yeah. Encourage them to make the appointment for themselves.
Yeah.
Because if I feel like if you do it yourself, it's a lot more satisfying when you're out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same as like if you're building a bridge. Once you're done, and if you've put in the work, you're satisfied of that bridge, and
absolutely
that's your child now.
Perfect.
All right, Chase, last thoughts. Good talk.
Thank you. Yeah. No, last thoughts. Definitely, I'll tag on what y'all are saying. If you are ever feeling alone, if you're feeling like isolated, definitely seek people.
Seek us, dude. We're here to help.
Right.
I mean, this is my first time on the podcast, man. But
you'll be back.
We're here to help. We love this. This is kind of our goal. Like, I mean, I'm aiming to become a children's pastor. Like, that's all I want to do. Yeah. All I want to do is help people. And, whatever form that takes, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
But seek people. And if it's not others, seek us. If it's not us, seek family. If it's not family, seek God. Well, seek God is at the top of the list.
Top of the list of all others.
If you don't know the Lord, you should get yourself acquainted, because He saved me more times than I could possibly count.
Amen, brother.
And I will tag on to a point you made, to be that friend. If you see someone else going through it, be that friend.
Absolutely.
You will never understand what having just one singular person in your life will do.
I mean, Chase and I have talked about that more times than we can count, especially over this last month.
Oh, yeah.
You might feel like a jerk. You might feel like you're prying, but trust me, having that friend, that one person that won't give up, is amazing. Yeah. That one person that, like, dude, shut up, you're hurting, let me help. And you're like, nah, I'm fine. Like, dude, come on. Be persistent, be annoying, but be the friend. Yeah.
So thank you guys for hopping on, being vulnerable, talking.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure, man.
This was episode 4, Misadventures in Isolation. Unfortunately, it's our last episode of the year, but we will be back January 9th. Thank you to everyone who's listened to our podcast episodes so far. We're very grateful.
Very.
You can always find us on Instagram at _thelifeboat_. And that is all. So, as always, you don't have to be drowning. You can hop on a lifeboat. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Adios.